Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to round 8 of the GPVWC Supercup. We're here at Korea, and you might remember my voice from yesterday. That's because my name is James Kirk, once again deputising for Nick Rowland, and through the mist and telecommunications that we have in this modern world, I've been able to drag with me, not Philip Cullen, but the bloke who was joining me yesterday, Mr. Lewis McGlade. This is your second outing on GPVWC, and welcome along to Super Cup.
Yeah, hi, and thank you. I really enjoyed it yesterday. Had two very good races back to back. Had such interesting driving from everyone, and considering this is a circuit that, from what I've heard from a lot of drivers, not many people enjoy. It was such a spectacle yesterday. We saw duels for the lead, we saw duels throughout the grid, and if this can match what we saw yesterday, we are in for such a fantastic race.
It must be said, actually, last race at Canada was a little bit boring, it must be said. The field was quite spread out for most of the time, but we're here in qualifying. We're almost done now. Oscar Hardwick is looking to be on for his 4th pole position in a row at the moment. We've got Giuseppe Ranieri, who was second Canada last time out. He's on a real charge at the moment through the competition. He's second. And we've got Hardwick's teammate for today, Pedro Malim, in 3rd. Now, Roy Schroten is off on holiday, hence why he's not here. And the session has finished now, so whoever is crossing the line as they are will be recording their final time. But there's a couple of people, such as Oscar Hardwick, on his final lap. I'm not sure whether he's going to be pushing or whether he's going to be just cooling down, because at the moment he leads the field by 5/10, and we've seen this over the last few races from Oscar. He really does seem to be taking the championship up, or where James Shepherd sort of left it. It was very much dominated by James before Oscar came in, and although there was one week where Villa Lapala came in and won a race, it's very much Oscar Hardwick's show now as he locks up there and most likely ruins this lap.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, to take a pole position that dominant, it's 5/10 of a second, and then even then it's 9/10 of a second back to Melim, and it's quite a dominating pole position, really. Considering you're doing 144 point, his pole time was a 144.7, so that's a very dominating pole position. With that pace, if he can keep that up throughout the race, I mean, this could be quite an easy one for him, really.
Absolutely, although I will say that Fate, there's a little cool stat I've got here, and I mean CSG have not been as dominant as most people actually think in this competition. They've won half the races, fair enough, but they've only won at odd races, and this is an even race, and so I think, if Fate conspires against them, this might very well be one that CSG might not win. We'll have to wait and see, though, because Hardwick is indeed on pole position, Ranieri 2nd, Malim 3rd. Behind them, you got Pavel Loknovsky for Innovision. Took his first win at Monaco. He's currently 3rd in the championship now. We've got championship leader Ryan Walker for Satellite Racing in 5th, has still not won a race this year. Patrick Gatewood for Multiforce 7th, Menno Klont for Multiforce in 8th. Mark Wicks for Street Fighter, and actually a very impressive debut here from Kevin Brent, who is deputising for David Nichols at Satellite Racing. It must be said that David Nichols has not had the best of times. 5 retirements so far, only finished 1 race, and that was outside. Actually, no, was it? I think it was actually outside of the points as well. But Kevin Brent's doing a great job here, and Satellite Racing need it as they've fallen to 4th now in the Constructors, behind Innovision.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard for a debutant to come in and have a decent result. We saw, I think it was Tapper yesterday, a debutant.
Was, yes.
Yes, and he had a very impressive drive, and I think that's kind of, even looking at the smaller leagues and seeing what these other people can do who are new to the series, I think it gives something to anyone who joins the league, whether it's midway through, that they can challenge. Why can't I? I mean, this is a different league, they're driving different cars, but there's still a lot that can be learned from other drivers, even throughout other leagues, whilst they're using other cars. It's a driver can learn very quickly from what other people are doing, and I think it will give a slight confidence boost to the debutant.
Oh, completely. I mean, I will draw an example from this year's Spanish Formula 1 Grand Prix, actually. there was a move made in a GP2 race before the Formula 1 race where one of the drivers, I can't remember, I think it was Julian Palmer, he took a number of cars on the outside of turn 3, and Alonso at the start of that race pulled off exactly the same move, and I believe he later admitted to saying that he actually saw the race and thought that was a good idea to overtake. So you can learn from the low series. Of course, one thing that does not really transpire across is the number of driver changes. Things are a bit more consistent here in Super Cup, hence why we only have one debutant as opposed to multiple debuts. So let's have a little look at the standings now, since we can bring everyone up to date, because we have, you know, same problem as with Formula Challenge with World GT. It's been standings on the site which we've been looking at, not the actual standings where numerous penalties have been applied. I updated them today. And so in the drivers, Ryan Walker is on 119 points, the only driver above 100 points, and that is because of his incredibly good consistency. 6 podiums from 7 races. The only time he wasn't on the podium was in Hungary, and he was still 5th then. And he's 5th here on the grid today, so plenty of opportunity to try and, you know, keep the gap between himself and Hardwick, you know, bigger, well, as big as he can. It's very much damage limitation at the moment, since Hardwick in second is on 86 points and has been reeling in those wins, although a retirement at Monaco it did not help him at all whatsoever. Loknovsky jumped up into 3rd position. That's much more where I expect to be him. But I tell you what, it's a very close battle here in the mid stages of the top 10. We've got Loknovsky on 77, Grimstedt on 73, and despite leaving the series, James Shepherd's still on 70 points. So it looks like the battle's very much going to be between Hardwick and Walker nearing the end of the series. There's still lots to play for, and it was a similar case in Formula Challenge, actually, where everything below first was actually rather close, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like when a driver takes the lead of the championship, you know, they can dominate. I think it's a bit different when you look, you know, when you look between different leagues because of the different cars and the different, all the different circumstances. But Ryan Walker has done an extremely good job. If you say, you know, through not even a single win this season, you know, we're on round 8 here, you know, and to have done, you know, 7 rounds before and not taken a win, but leading the championship by 33 points, that is an incredible thing to do. You know, I'd state though that it's not, the gap between 1 and 2 isn't really that big. I mean, when you seriously think about it, it's 33 points. That's a race win, and, you know, maybe a couple of race wins with consistent points from Ryan Walker again, and you won't be too far away from that. And, you know, Oscar Hardwick has to be thinking about that. But I mean, the consistency of Ryan Walker this season has been incredible.
It really has. Philip Cullen has described it very much as the Cinderella story, and nobody on GPVWC quite knows where it's come from. But I'm sure the Walker will be happy it's come now, and he is in this situation, and we'll just have to see how much damage limitation, if it is going to be damage limitation, he can cause here today. Looking at the constructors, things are a bit more juicy for CSG, currently leading on 192 points, and considering that their drivers are 1 and 3 on the grid here today, it looks like it's going to be another good result for them. Target, without Vil Lapala, have suffered a bit. They are now on 147 points, so they're still a credible 19 points ahead of Innovision, who are on 128. Satellite is only 4 behind, oh, sorry, I lie, 6 behind on 122. And then you got Multiforce, ever the consistent force, but not really doing high consistency, you know, high podium places like Walker. They're currently on 110 points, but considering that only 82 points separates 1st and 5th, you know, that is much closer than you'll see other championships. You know, by this time you will probably see 82 points between, I don't know, maybe 1st and 3rd if someone's having a good year. Here, the top 5 are all still very much in it if one of them has an off weekend. Yeah,
I mean, that is an I think the table here, both tables, constructors and drivers, very interesting, considering, although it does look like, in this case, CSG are pulling away ever so slightly, and, you know, even then Ryan Walker at the top of the drivers pulling away ever so slightly, but I mean, I wouldn't say that anyone's really pulling away when you consider that we've had 7 rounds and it's a 33-point lead in the drivers and a 45-point lead in the constructors. I mean, if you seriously think about it, they can score decent points. You know, it's all about consistency. And if CSG start to maybe have a couple of problems, which, you know, some teams do, you know, like some drivers sometimes start to struggle in the latter part of the season. Maybe it's just some tracks and things like that that affect them. You know, especially coming to a track like this where I've heard that some of the drivers aren't really too keen on it. You know, it's a really interesting factor to see really what happens. I mean, it happens throughout all forms of motorsport, whether it's you know, the racing leagues that we have here, or whether it's, you know, even in real life motorsport. Yeah, it's just seeing the gradual changes throughout the season. It's like an evolution throughout, just to see where the teams are starting to improve. And even then, Target can learn from CSG. You know, all the teams can learn from each other, just to see where they can teach their drivers, you know, overtaking and things like that. Everyone can learn from everyone else, and it's these kind of drivers and these teams that learn from what everyone else is doing that will prevail and that will take the lead of the championship.
What I will say is 45 points is the maximum amount of points a team can take from a race evening. I mean, of course, you've got 25 points for the win, 20 points for second, and although Target are one man, actually, I was going to say they're one man down. They do have Brad Wright here, although I don't think he's really going to be pushing for podium. Grimseth as well, very much not exactly on podium pace at the moment. But CSG have had a double retirement this season. It was the first in a long time at Monaco. But if that happens, and if Target theoretically are to get first and second, they've instantly made up that gap, and so still plenty to play for in the constructors, more so than the drivers, it would seem. So we have 2.5 minutes left of warm-up here, and just to remind you, this isn't like Formula Challenge. We've only got one big race here this evening, half the distance of a Super League race. We are expecting pit stops. The maximum, I think, has been 2 pit stops, and also we have tyre compounds just like in Formula 1. So you'll have the soft tyre compound, which is red, the option tyres, and then the harder compound tyre, which are yellow marked. And hopefully you'll be able to see them, Lewis, because of course I can't with my RFE-less computer. But especially, I mean, we were expecting yesterday possibly even a pit stop in the Formula Challenge because of the high tyre wear. Now that didn't happen, but it's going to be interesting to see how people play out strategy today, because obviously, you know, the fresher tyres will mean you'll be able to go faster, but, you know, it's all about managing the time gaps here.
Yeah, I mean, we did kind of think that we would be on the limit, really on the limit of taking, you know, someone was going to pit in the Formula Challenge yesterday, and I think some people must have been close. You could definitely see some people struggling in the latter part of the race. And so, taking that into account, coming here, you know, I definitely think some may struggle to do a one stop. I think that'll be most people's goal, really. But I think some may struggle. I'm not really sure where we'll see the strategy change. I mean, this is the thing, is when pit stops start to get involved, it's all about strategy. Every little part of the strategy, whether it's, you know, how many stops you do, how you conserve the tyres, but more importantly, I think, is when you picking that right point. You know, even if you've picked it before the race, it's getting that right point. You know, no matter what you're doing, and that is where you will lose time or gain time and take positions. It's in the strategy as well as just on the track.
And I'm sure Lewis Hamilton won't need reminding that he lost 2 positions. He was basically forced off the podium at Monaco purely because he waited 6 seconds for the pit window to open for himself to get a decent pit stop during a safety car period. And clearly, if you find yourself behind unwanted traffic in these races, you are going to find yourself struggling. And obviously, dirty air, trying to get past people will just mean more tyre degradation. The effects are long lasting. And here at a very medium distanced race, it's going to be interesting to see who can hold on the most. I mean, I think of all the people, we saw Gagzella struggling at the end of race 1 of Formula Challenge last time out. And unfortunately, his race ended in catastrophe when Tapper went into the back of him. But even the fastest can struggle here. And I'm sure that a number of people with better tyre wear than Oscar Hardwick possibly might be having a little eye to see whether they can't grab some much-needed points. Of course, actually, it must be said that all the constructors here in Supercup have actually scored now. I believe last is Centurion Racing on 11 points, and even then at the bottom it's a close battle with FA who are on 13. But yeah, I think it's good to see that every single constructor has at least scored, because at least they think it's not a waste of time. You know, they are at least on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think scoring points is very important. You know, no matter whether it's 192 points for CSG or 11 points for Centurion, it's so important to score points because, I mean, think of it. If you start the year with 0 points, as everyone else does, and you struggle from the start, and then you finally get that point, I mean, that is a motivator, and that encourages you to then go for more. I mean, you're always encouraged to go for points, but it's just like if you're struggling at the beginning of the year and then you get that point, you kind of feel like that struggle's over and then you can move on from it. And I think it's really, really nice to see that every team here can score points because it's a confidence boost not just for the teams but for the drivers to state that, the points are only between 1 and 15, I believe. And so, there's quite a number of drivers on the grid. And so it can be quite a struggle to get up to to get up into 15th place and score that point. And to do it, it's going to be a confidence boost. You're racing with a lot of other drivers who are equally trying to go for that position, whether it's the last points paying position, whether it's P1. They're all going for it. And this is where you get the interesting rivalries, whether it's down low, in the middle, or on top. There's always an interesting rivalry somewhere throughout the grid.
I can almost imagine what 1 point would mean to Marussia or Caterham. But that's Formula 1. And that's real life. This is Super Cup, and even better, in my opinion. And the drivers are just going onto the grid, preparing for the 35 lap, of punishment that they are about to endure. It's Oscar Hardwick then for CSG Racing, leading us off from pole position. Behind him, though, the young charger, Giuseppe Ranieri. The Scuderia Basilia, what can he do in this race? In dry conditions, can he possibly make more of a charge on Hardwick than he did last race? Pedro Milim filling in for Roy Schroten will round out the podium positions here with Pavel Loknowski for Innovision behind him. Championship leader Ryan Walker starts from P5 with Sindre Grimseth for Target Racing currently 4th in the championship in 6th. Then we have Patrick Gatewood for Malta Force in 7th, with Mark Wicks in 8th for Street Fighter. So I think Menno Klont has had a penalty, possibly. I'm hearing that track temperatures are 42 degrees roughly as well, which is huge. But anyway, on we go. Kevin Brents then for Satellite Racing is in 9th, with Morten Vernonson now into the top 10 for Vodbull. Brad Wright will start 11th for Target, with Calvin Hermser 12th for PPD. Menno Klont, after grid penalty, 5th place, will start 13th for Malta Force, with Scott Bennett in 14th for Innovision. Then got Nico de Koning for FA in 15th, with Dimitri Demulmeister in Fox Racing. It must be said that Dimitri has had 4 consecutive retirements now. Hopefully he'll be able to finish this race. I'm sure that'll be a confidence booster just in itself. 17th is Martin Bulgen for Scuderia Basilia, with Dan Rusu for Vodbull in 18th. Andrzej Pestovs for PPDs in 19th, and Wayne Reed for FA Racing will round out the top 20. Our final 2 men on the grid then are Tommy Koivunen for Centurion Racing and John McLean, who had a bit of a nightmare in Formula Challenge last time, just yesterday. He's here for Fox Racing, and he'll be starting last on the grid. I know a couple of people are a bit worried about him, but hopefully he won't get into too much trouble this race.
Yeah, I mean, some drivers struggle. I mean, you said about the retirements for some drivers earlier on, and I can't remember who it was. You said someone had 4.
Oh, it's Dimitri Demulmeister.
Yes, yeah. So you say about confidence boost. It would give a massive confidence boost to finish the race. After such a struggle to finish, the last 4 races. It will be such a payoff to finish, and least of all, he's in 16th place. that's not far off the point. So if you can finish with a point, you know, or get further into the points, that's going to feel even better. And I think that's where you've got to be aiming for. Or I think really where he's got to be aiming is just to finish the race, and points will just be a little bit of icing on that cake.
It will, and let's hope that he does finish. I know in WSS in Monaco he got his first podium of the year, which was absolutely fantastic, but in the end that can only do so much. And clearly a finish here would be better than no finish at all. So the drivers are now lining up on the grid, just waiting for those at the back to get into place. And now we're going to be waiting for those 5 lights to appear above the drivers now. A long wait here for the guys at the front, and here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 lights. The engine revs will rise. And here, a career, it's away we go, and it's a decent start from Oscar Hardwick, a decent start from Pedro Malim as well. Already past Giuseppe Ranieri. Oh, actually, wow, Ranieri's had a terrible start here. He's down to P308. Oscar Hardwick's gone wide, and there's a number of people going wide as well there, but actually, all in all, quite clean. But here we go, our Hardwick is far off into the distance. Ranieri is back past Malim though, and actually Ryan Walker, good start from him. He's up into P3 now on the straight as we head down into turn 3. Much faster cars, these in the Formula Challenge. And heading down into the heavy braking zone. Look at Sindre Grimstedt there trying to get through. And a bit of contact at the back there. Gatewood and Brent came together. And oh dear, there's a couple of people off there. And oh no, Gatewood's off. And oh, there's a huge crash behind. Goodness me. There's multiple cars there involved in that incident. And oh, after everything was looking so clean, there's multiple cars off there.
That, I don't really know what happened there, really, because someone hit the wall and it just caused a massive crash. I mean, that is just not where you want a crash, really, is on a straight where there was quite a bit of smoke, so it was very hard to see where any of the cars were. And it does look like Dimitri has got some damage, so it doesn't look like he will be finishing it. I'm not sure, I can't actually see the damage myself.
I think he's got a puncture there, but 4 people out already then. Martin Bolgin, Tommy Koivunen, and okay, there we go. We have a red flag for the race, so we're going to have a race restart. But goodness me, that was very reminiscent of Mike Bell's incident, actually, in Formula Challenge just yesterday. Thankfully, Mike Bell actually was able to sort of semi-save it, keep it in towards the wall, so that he collected no one. But I saw there, I think it was Kevin Brents for Satellite Racing, went into the back of Gatewood. Gatewood got a penalty, sort of went off to the side, tried to rejoin the track, but didn't quite, clipped the wall, and spun out into the path of the oncoming cars, and that was absolute carnage from there on out. But that's all behind us now. It's a red flag. We're going to have a complete race restart here.
Yeah, I mean, looking at what happened crash-wise, I don't know who to blame, really. I don't know what really happened. I think the mass pile-up wasn't really anyone's fault. I mean, it was just one incident led to another, and then it just really got out of hand. And I think red flagging the incident is probably the best thing to do. Have a race restart so that everyone is on just on a fresh page, because I mean, it wasn't really the best thing to watch. You know, like it wasn't really a good way to sort of advertise this championship and showing a massive crash with every car going out. It's not really encouraging for any of the drivers. So it's probably the best decision.
Well, the usual rule here is if 10 drivers are massively affected by an incident, or roughly that, then we will have a race restart. And clearly, 4 drivers are out and 6 drivers, including Dimitri there, were involved in the incident. So we shall start the formation lap. Once again, I noticed there was a bit of squabbling between Ranieri and Malim in the meantime about racing lines and things, and I saw that Ranieri didn't have the best of starts, so he got past Malim anyway. They probably sorted out between themselves as gentlemen. But yeah, from one of the themes of Supercup really has been almost there's a survival of the fittest competition. I know Philip doesn't like referring back to it, but Monaco, we only had 9 finishers, and that meant only 9 people scored points, which was absolutely incredible. And it's very much been, you know, the slower people at the back have been able to actually get points because they've just been able to keep it on track. Nevertheless, though, I mean, I thought we were going to see the main problems at turn 1, and actually that seemed pretty nice to me. It seemed, pretty serene. No real incidents at all.
Yeah, I saw someone had a bad start. I don't really know who it was, but had a poor start. But everyone got around him. There wasn't a crash going into turn 1. I thought it was all pretty clean going through 1 and 2. I think Ryan Walker had a fantastic start to get up into 3rd place. So, looking at that, I think Ryan Walker's probably not too chuffed with what happened.
But actually, I noticed John McLean was up in 12th.
Oh, so he must have had a fantastic start. Where did he qualify?
Well, he was starting P22.
22. Wow, that is impressive.
So 10 places in 4, 5 corners.
Yeah, I'm sure some drivers probably won't be too impressed by what happened. But then I think as a mass majority on the grid, it's probably best to have a race restart, really, because I think it's just sometimes it's a bit unfair for some of the other drivers who have been caught up in this incident, and it wasn't their fault. I kind of think that there's like a fine line between whether it's right to red flag a race and whether it isn't. I mean, this isn't the first race I've seen red flag. I've seen a couple before, and I've heard from a lot of the drivers who had a brilliant start were really not very happy with what happened, and for them it's just a bit of a shame, really.
On the other hand, you've got 10 drivers that are very happy that they're being allowed to become competitive again in a race. And I think, to be honest, although the majority here would probably say, you know what, why did we race restart? In the end, that's unfair on those others which are caught in that incident and couldn't do anything about it. So, the situation is as it is, and we will see Oscar Hardwick now just lining up on the grid for the 2nd time today. And this should certainly be interesting to see how people are going to react, because, well, obviously Ranieri will want to get a better start, and I can see him here already angling his car towards Hardwick to try and cover off Malim. Definitely got past him in the early stages. And oh, there we go, Martin Bolgin's actually starting from the pit lane, so he must have an issue on the outlap. So, well, at least he's not retired like the original race start, but he is going to start from the pit lane now. The lights come on once again, and here at Korea for the 2nd time. We are racing, and it's oh, what a start from Pedro Malim. He's straight to the lead already. That's an unbelievable start. I thought, well, goodness me. Oh, and he's gone wide there, and just having a look back to see other cars. Everyone else seems to be getting through nice and cleanly, but holy moly, that was an incredible start. But here we go, down the, look at it, they're going to go 3 wide into turn 3 now. They're battling just as close as it was in the opening laps. Ranieri on the outside, Malim on the inside trying to defend Oscar Hardwick. And, oh, literally, they are going pretty much 3 wide in. Malim tucks back in well after that incredible start. Everyone's actually come out in pretty much exactly the same way, a little bit further back. Still a couple of people going wide, but nobody is in the wall just yet, which is brilliant. So, despite that amazing start from Pedro Malim, Ranieri dives through on the lead, and Ranieri does go through on the lead. And, well, I'm surprised that Malim didn't benefit any further from that impressive start. He's down to 3rd already.
He went too wide into turn 1, and that cost him severely. But what a great start there from Malim. Unfortunately, that first corner cost him. But if that hadn't have happened, he would be leading this race right now. I'm 100% sure of that. But Ranieri, great job to get up into 1st place. That was a nice overtake through turn 4, and we saw there was quite a few drivers actually going 3 abreast through turn 3. So impressive driving this time.
Absolutely. Walker still maintaining 4th. Oh, he's up into 4th actually. Grimstad into 5th. A bad start for Loknowski. He's down to 7th. Behind, we've got Gatewood, who of course was the main catalyst of that crash. He is through, thankfully, and into 7th. But he's got Mark Wicks right in the back of him, and he's about to make a move as well. And that is Mark Wicks for Street Fighter through into P7. Gatewood struggling a bit now. Even Brad Wright and Menno Klont and Morten Bernardson are pretty much all in the back of him. It seems that his qualifying pace not exactly translating into a good race pace as we've completed the 1st lap now.
Yeah, I mean, some of the drivers aren't quite translating it as much as they should be. I mean, you look at Oscar Hardwick, who took pole by half a second and hasn't shot off into the lead. I mean, obviously he had the positions taken away from him on the 1st lap, but I would have just expected a bit more pace. But this is what happened yesterday as well. Everyone expecting one driver to win. That one driver isn't, and it's great to watch. And I hope that we do see some great duels throughout. And we have already at this 1st lap been pretty good for some overtaking, pretty good for some side-by-side action.
Let's keep an eye on this Multiforce battle. Menno Klont, of course, the man who's come into this championship almost as a bit of a revelation. I did say that Multiforce should be keeping note of the young lad. He did exceptionally well in his debut at Spain, and he's impressed ever since. He's going to try and want to get past the established Gatewood, though, being at Multiforce since the beginning of the season. As is Brad Wright, in a sense, filling in for race winner Lapala here today. We believe that Lapala probably isn't going to return. And I tell you what, this is the most competitive I've seen Brad Wright in this championship ever, to be honest. And to see him up in the likes of where he is, he's 10th at the moment, is great. You know, and he's really getting stuck into this battle with the two Multiforce cars as Menno Klont trying to find a way past Patrick Gatewood. And goodness me, he's going to... Oh my word, he dived through on the inside of the corner there. That's not an overtaking move, but Klont has made it stick. He is up into P8, and Brad Wright almost through as well. Oh dear, well, almost on the back there. I think there's a bit of a problem with my timing screen. Patrick Gatewood's falling back down the order, but he isn't really, because we can see that he is actually just ahead of Mr. Wright and Bernison there.
Yeah, no, I've got that glitch as well. But it was an impressive overtake there from Klont. You know, just dived up the inside. You know, just taking no prisoners. If this is my position, I'm going to take it here. And it was really impressive. Great overtaking move. That is what everyone wants to see. Is, you know, these brave overtaking moves. This one where a driver looks and sees, oh, there's a position. You're going to try and close the door, but I don't care. I'm just going for it. And made it stick. Absolutely perfect. That's very much the attitude that Giuseppe Ranieri had throughout these first few races in his debut. Actually, I'm not sure whether it was his debut. I think it was his second race in the Spanish Grand Prix here. It was absolutely unbelievable. I think he overtook at most corners of that track, and currently he leads here by about 5/10 from Oscar Hardwick. They're really starting to drop Pedro Malim now, actually. 2.4 seconds behind the lead. Ryan Walker further 1.5 back. Inan Pavlovnovsky further second back or so, I think, from there. He's actually closing right up onto Grimseth over this lap. Then we've got Wicks, Klont, and Brad Wright has been able to get past Gatewood. So Brad Wright is up tonight, Gatewood down to 10th, and there's Bernison there as well. So these three on the cusp of the top 10, really starting to get to grips with each other, really starting to dig in. And Patrick Gatewood looks like he's going to fall backwards here because Bernison looks like the better driver as well. We have had a couple of retirements already, though, still. Nico de Koning, Wayne Reed, and Calvin Hermser all out in these early laps. Speaking of, you know, like what happened last time with the red flag and John McLean climbed up into 12th place. Well, he's there again, 22nd to 12th in only 2 laps. Some of these drivers climb so quickly. That is incredible to have jumped from 22nd to 12th, this time with not as many DNFs and not as many crashes. Impressive stuff there from John McLean.
I'm sorry to cut you over there. Gatewood was round. Brad Wright had basically gone wide and had let both Gatewood and
more contact.
Through. And oh no, yeah, sorry, who on earth did... Someone just caught Gatewood there. I'm not sure who it was. Was it Pestovs there? I don't think so. I think everyone else came off unharmed, but oh, what a shame. And Patrick Gatewood is out again of this race. It just wasn't to be for the American.
No, certainly not. I'm not sure who caused the contact there, but he kind of, as he spun around, he was in the middle of the road, and Scott Bennett very nearly clipped him, coming through the second to last corner, 10-16 even. But yeah, it's so unfortunate that, you know, even with this second chance, he hasn't been able to make it work. You know, it's always about looking forward now until the next round. Still, though, he can still study what everyone else is doing and how everyone else is working the strategy. Is I think, you know, studying what everyone else is doing is very important.
Talking about studying, Oscar Hardwick is certainly studying the rear end of Ranieri quite a bit now. 3/10 is the gap between the two drivers, and it looks like battle is soon to commence between these two. I'm pretty sure that Oscar Hardwick will want to get the first even race win for CSG this season, and indeed build on his race win from last time out. He's taking his 4th pole position here of the year, and I wouldn't say that he was faster than Ranieri for a reason, and especially as we head on to lap 4 of 35. He's certainly going to be, 5 of 35 even. He's going to be looking to the outside. Ranieri very much keeps his nose clean there, and well, we're going to have to see what Hardwick can do in the slipstream. We saw, of course, Gagzella nail the gearing down this section of the track. In Formula Challenge yesterday, can Hardwick nail the gearing here? He pulls out to the left once again. He's through on the straight, and indeed he is past Ranieri before they've even hit turn 3. Can Ranieri keep it up the inside? Oh, very close there, but Hardwick retakes the lead of the race here on that 5 of 35.
Yeah, I think Ranieri must have tapped Oscar Hardwick. I was riding on board with Hardwick, and there was a little bit of a nudge there on Hardwick's car. I don't think it was hard enough to cause any damage, but it's a good overtake there from Hardwick. You know, he got very close to the wall on the left, and you know that's kind of what you have to do. Really, is exploit as much of the track as you possibly can. You know, if there's a wall there, get as close to it as possible, because that's where they can't squeeze you any more than that. If they squeeze you any more than that, that is their, they've made the mistake there, and that's their penalty. And so I think using. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you should be encouraging other people to crash into you and cause penalties and everything like that, but I'm just saying, exploit the track, use as much of the track as you possibly can, because that's where a lot of the time is found. I mean, if you look at some of these F1 drivers and you see the amount of track they use, they're going right on the edge of the white line. And it is impressive stuff to do that every single time, is just clip the apex as much as they do and get it's like they're just riding along the white line. It's like it's magnetic or something. They're just always on it. It's so impressive.
The job for Ranieri now is to stay as close to Oscar Hardwick as he can. The gap between the two now 0.8 of a second already. And I noticed that Ranieri didn't have a particularly good last sector, there. And indeed at turn 1, he's gone wide again. So I think Oscar is going to be pulling off into the distance here, and it's going to be before, or it's going to be after the pit stop, so we see whether Ranieri can make any more of an impact. The closest battle on track was Grimseth versus Loknoski. It seems to have separated out a bit as Loknoski went wide. But here we go. There's a pretty close battle, actually, between Morten Bernsen and, of all people, John McLean. Now up into 11th for Fox Racing, past his teammate Dimitri Dubuelmeister already. And I'm impressed. Very impressed on lap 6 here. He's making a real charge and knocking on the door of the top 10 already.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have such a great race yesterday, but here he's really proven himself. From the back of the grid to where he is now. I mean, don't get me wrong, he gained a position because someone started from the pit lane, but nevertheless, you can't take anything away from him. It's been an impressive drive so far, and he's pretty much right on their gearbox now of Morten. So great drive, great start. And this is going to give hopefully quite a good confidence boost. And confidence is everything when driving a car. If you don't have confidence, you're not really focusing on what you're trying to do, really. You're not really in tune with it. It's all about being hooked up, being confident with it. And when you're climbing positions quickly, you're gaining that confidence. When you're losing them, when you're going down constantly, very quickly, it's really... It just knocks you off a little bit.
I'm going to nick a quote from one of my YouTube friends in that confidence creates skill. And I think that, especially in driving cars, that is certainly one to watch out for, as Brad Wright has gone wide at that corner again. That's the second time he's done that. And in doing so, he has indeed let Morten Bernsen through to 9th. And John McLean is now in the top 10. And I saw Brad Wright struggling. I knew he was only a little bit off the road. And oh my goodness me, has he had a spin there? No, he was just able to save it. But Brad Wright's starting to struggle now here. And this is possibly to do with the high temperature of the track as it is at the moment. Our tyres starting to go off already. If so, he could be in for definitely a 2-stop, maybe even a 3-stop at this rate. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, when you have high tyre wear, especially when it's high temperature, sometimes it doesn't just... It's like what it does in Formula 1. It just bites. It just goes off a cliff. Because of the high temperature, you don't really notice it until it's gone. And, that's where you see some spins. Even the most skillful drivers sometimes just can't tell. And from what I can see, it looks like the top 12 are running these soft tyres. So it's interesting to see when these tyres fall off. I mean, that's from what I can see. I hope that is correct. But yeah, it does look like, from my point of view, that the top 12 are on soft tyre. Yeah.
All on red tyres, right, cool. And also we're going to have to see what tyre they, of course, go on to during their first pit stop. Roy Schroten, definitely a victim of strategies in most races, why he's finished lower than perhaps he should have. Just a wrong strategy call in almost every race. Will Pedro make the same mistake, though? Currently in P3, he's got Ryan Walker catching up to him very quickly now. The gap between them 0.6, and definitely through this third sector already, Walker looks a lot closer than that. And let's not forget, Walker on a bit of a consistency streak here. A podium at every race, stints his 5th place, at Hungary back at round 3 or 4 that was. So, well, he's certainly looking down the barrel of another podium here at the moment, and perhaps he could do something into turn 3 here. Definitely a favourite overtaking place for most drivers, because you've got this extremely long straight here, one of the longest straights on the calendar, and a lot of slipstream to go with it. He's right behind Malim, pulls out to the left. Malim's going to try and hold on around the inside. What can Walker do? Not much, but he's going to try and get the cut back, try and get a better turn or better exit onto this second straight now. Try and get the slipstream again. He tucks back in, and turn 4 is definitely an overtaking place as well. That's something to say. And nope, nothing doing there. So perhaps Ryan is going to have to wait a little bit longer before trying to get past the Portuguese driver.
Yeah, it's very important not to make a mistake in these kind of situations. You may have lost downforce, and especially with this, with the grip levels that, you know, if the tyres are starting to go off here, you know, he could be struggling ever so slightly. But his lap times are way up. Oh well, not way up. You know, they're quite a bit up on Mellon, quite a bit down though on Rainieri and Hardwick. So I'm wondering if this is the duel really to be looking at the moment, because I wonder what happened. No, it's
not. It's certainly not. I do apologise. We should cut to P5 and P6. Sindre Grimseth has had Pavel Loknovsky side by side with him right through the straight to turn 4, turn 4 itself, turn 5 and turn 6. Loknovsky is much quicker here, and although I'd love to see what Walker can do on Malim, if there's going to be an overtaking move, it's going to be Pavel Loknovsky at the moment. Really, really on a charge at the moment to get past the target driver.
Very impressive then, if that is the case, which I didn't see that. So, you know, I'm impressive stuff. You know, if it's side by side through some of these corners is not easy, especially considering their high speed. Yeah, I know they're banked. Some of these are quite banked corners, so you know you can take quite a wide line through it. But you know, it doesn't take away how impressive it is to go side by side through them, especially some of the slow speed corners. I do know that 4 is a bit difficult. 5 and 6 though, because of the way that's kind of like a really big chicane in such a sense. You know, you've got one turn, then you've got a little straight, and then you've got another one, and it's that going side by side through that is impressive. You know, it shows the skill of these drivers that they can do this. They can go side by side. They can adapt the racing line every single time. You know, whether it's different tyre wear, whether you're in, you know, the dirty air of the car in front, or whether you're offline because you're battling. It is just that adaptive skill. It's very impressive to watch.
Keep in mind that Klont's in the background there as well, so if one of these two makes a mistake, that's going to be pretty much a free position for good old Menno Klont. Loknovsky seems to have fallen off the back of Grimseth though, and the closest battle now is we should go back to Malim and Walker here. Walker really on the back here. We've got within 2 tenths, and he's trying to look around the outside here of what I believe is turn 10. I mean, look at him all over the back of the CSG driver, really trying to knock on the door of a podium. But Malim, very good defender, we know this. The Portuguese driver's made a name for himself through it, and Walker's going to have a tough job here. But definitely not past him. We're only on lap 9 of 35, going on to lap 10. There's still 25 laps of this race to go.
Mellon has had some very impressive defensive stuff as Walker goes a little bit wide there coming out of the last corner.
Was that Rainieri in? Sorry, Rainieri's in the pits. Rainieri is in the pits here. And can you have a little look what tyres he's gone on to?
Yellow.
He's gone on to the hard tyre, right. So, Rainieri, our first pitter, we weren't sure how long these tyres were going to last. Not long, apparently. And Rainieri trying something a little bit different. The first of our main pitters, and he's going to return to the race in P8. So still in a very good points-paying position here. And of course he's going to want to go longer on these harder tyres as well. But presume it's going to be soft, hard, soft. We've got 25 laps left. Well, it's certainly going to be interesting to see where he ends up at the end of this race.
Yeah, definitely. But Walker's always on the back of Mellon. He just can't get past, really. He's not getting the right drive, but he is pretty much, he's getting closer and closer every single lap, is Walker.
One must wonder if he's going to try and do a similar strategy to Rainieri if he pits early, try and get the jump on other people. Yeah, I'm surprised that the tyres have gone off this early, to be honest. I mean, I see Hardwick just going past the back marker Bulgin there. Yeah, back to this battle with Walker and Malim. You're absolutely right. Walker just doesn't seem to be able to get his way past. But let us remind you of Thomas Jacobs from Formula Challenge last night. He just bided his time. He had a few little looks down the inside. But in the end, he realised that podium was going to be good enough, and actually, in the end, he got a race win from it. So definitely still plenty of potential to see from Walker. Here's we're going to enter the third sector. I'm just going to keep a little look on Hardwick. Hardwick's going round again, so he is clearly happy on his tyres. What are these two going to do, though? Are the CSG boys going to split their strategy? No, both of them are going to go round again. Let's see, the next ones to come through will be Sindro, Grimseth, Loknovsky, and Klont. And all of them are going through as well. I'm wondering, is Mark Wicks, he's pulling off to the... No, okay. So, Rainieri, I mean, I've actually had a look here. Rainieri is not too far behind Mark Wicks. And it seems he's definitely putting a bit of a different strategy to everyone. Everyone now seems quite comfortable on their soft tyres at the moment. Rainieri thinks otherwise. He thinks he could possibly gain a few positions from going on to the harder compound this early in the race.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been riding on board with Bennett, who is on the yellow ward, the harder tyre here. And he started the race on those, I do believe. So, I think John McLean's just pitted as well.
He has
just gone past. Let's have a look. He's gone onto the soft, says McLean.
Right, so he's going to probably be going for 2 short and hoping that the hards will last long enough. It seems like a decent strategy, and actually, he comes out in a points-paying position in 12th, so he's only lost 1 or 2 places to his teammate Demulmeister and Bennett here, so actually a very decent pit stop, and he's come out into some lovely clean air as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is always good to come out into some clean air. I mean, if you come out behind like a Joule, you see it time and time again, especially in Formula 1, where someone's just made a slight little error and they've come out, and this driver's come out behind a 3 or 4 car Joule, and really that's it. The stint is, it's not ruined, but it's damaged. If you were in front of these people, sometimes you generally expect to be faster, and you're on these clean, brand new tyres, and you're getting stuck behind these drivers, and you're trying to look for ways round all of the time. You're using too much of the track sometimes, and there's more tyre wear.
Right, okay, just a couple of updates. Brad Wright for Target, he's out of this race, but we've got a podium pitter here now as well. Ryan Walker is into the pit, as is Sindre Grimseth, as is Pavel Loknovsky. So the main tyre guys are now going into the pit. Menno Klont also going through. Rainieri, though, look at him. He's gone past every one of them, so he's going to maintain what will be 4th place. Both Malim and Hardwick have gone through, as has Klont. He's now up into the podium position. Oh, and as Kevin Brent's gone as well. Kevin Brent's has gone, he's retired as well. But Rainieri back up into 4th. He's 29 seconds behind the leader, though. And I am wondering how long the pit stops will be. It's usually about 20 to 25 seconds. And so I don't think he's actually going to come out near Hardwick at this rate. He needs to be on a bit more of a move to get any stuff in there. But Ryan Walker's come back out into 5th, so where he started on the grid. Loknovsky is 6th, Grimseth 7th, and then we've got Scott Bennett in 8th, Mark Wicks in 9th, and John McLean is back into the top 10.
Yeah, looking at John McLean's times, it looks like it should be about 22 or 23 seconds throughout the pits. That's time lost, including movement. Ryan Walker, though, he went onto the yellow or the hard tyres. So it's so interesting because we've seen a couple of different takes on strategy.
Oh, Rainieri spun! Rainieri has spun. Thank you, Mr. Cameraman, for pointing that out. He has spun, and, well, he's lost a lot more time. And Hardwick's into the pits as well, so that is possibly his strategy ruined. It seems that Walker's not been able to get past Rainieri.
Melim as well.
Melim is in as well. Well, this is going to be interesting. Hardwick is out, so, well, good double stack stop from the CSG boys there. What about Menno Klont? Menno Klont is coming in as well. And so Hardwick goes back into the race lead. And where's Rainieri? Rainieri's just rounding the final corner. So if he didn't have that spin, well, what could have happened then? I think that's very much battle lost here for Rainieri. Rainieri is actually going to come out in... he's still coming out ahead of Malim. Although he goes, goodness me, he goes very wide there. Goodness me. And, yeah, oh, well, actually, let's look at this. Walker's lost out then. Because Malim's come back out into 3rd and Walker's now back down to 4th.
Yeah, I don't know really what happened there to Walker. He must have lost quite a bit of time there. But it seems like the top 4 at the moment all running on the harder tyre.
Oh, Malim's gone wide. Sorry, Milim's gone wide at turn 3. No, there's nothing wrong there. But also a little update that Menno Klont has come back out into 7th, but he's right behind Grimseth, so he's gained a bit of time here.
Yes, it's so interesting, though, to see all this different strategy. Klont, he's on the soft tyre. He should be pretty quick now. I think a lot of the drivers have to get used to this, the slightly cold tyre, you know, because they've got to wait for it all to warm up and everything like that. And it's all getting used to that. But Klont spun.
Oh, no! He certainly has. Sorry, I was thinking a close battle between Wicks and Bennett. But yeah, Klont has spun back into... He's still in 7th. But yeah, let's have a little look at this battle between Bennett and Wicks. Bennett pits... Well, he hasn't pitted, of course. I think neither has Mark Wicks. But Bennett, on the harder tyre, has really made it work here. And Wicks, who hasn't pitted well... Yeah, he's really starting to struggle here. He's down to P9.
No, Wicks has pitted. Wicks pitted
he has?
on the last lap. He literally pitted on just the last lap. So...
Ah, there we go.
But I believe that Bennett has not pitted. I shall just check. No, Bennett has not pitted at all. So Bennett doing pretty strong there. He's started in 16th. He's moved up into 8th. He's trying to make this strategy work. I'm wondering if he is going to try and one stop at this point.
That'd be interesting. He'd have to go certainly a long way.
Well, a long way.
Yeah, well, with 14 laps of 35 into this, if he's going to one stop, I mean, we've seen that the red tyres have only lasted, say, 12 laps. So he's going to have to try and make it to what, lap 23? So that's 9 more laps on these tyres. Well, he can certainly try. There's no harm in trying. He's in a top 10 position at the moment. I don't think he will be at the end of it all, but, well, there we go. The lead...
Oh, he's pitted now.
Oh, there we go. Right, so... No, it looks like he is going to be going for the same strategy as everyone else, probably a 2-stop. You keep an eye on what tyre compound he goes on to there. But anyway, the lead of the race is now 12.2 seconds between Hardwick and Ranieri. The Lim is still about a second and a bit ahead of Walker. Loknovsky is 5th then with Grimseth 6th, Klont 7th, Mark Wicks 8th, John McLean up into 9th then, so his pit stops really worked out well. And Morten Bernsen is back up into the top 10. What does Scott Bennett come out on?
He came out on these softs.
Right.
So I'm wondering what some of these drivers try to do. Are they going soft, hard, soft? I mean, obviously for Scott, it's a bit different because he started on the hard tyre. I wonder if he's going hard, soft, hard. Because that's an interesting strategy, because then he can play with the degradation a bit more. And if the degradation is pretty high here, and some people may be struggling later on in the race, if he goes hard, soft, hard, then he may be in a pretty good position to take some places. I mean, when you think of it, they've lasted 13 laps for him, and that's the hard tyres. So yeah, maybe the hard tyres are going out pretty quickly as well.
That seems a bit wrong, though, if you ask me. I think if he knows his tyre compounds, he will have switched on to the reds in full knowledge that he can get the most out of them, go on to another set of yellows, and push to the end. Because for the yellows to only last 2 laps longer than even the longest of red tyres, that doesn't seem right to me. I think he's got an ulterior motive here. But you know, back into 12th place he is. He's still in a points-paying position, and points being prized at the end of the day. And Bennett will be happy with those. So I'm trying to find a close battle out on track. I think Menno Klont is starting to recatch Grimseth after his spin. But they're not really close enough at the moment. And everyone else is pretty separated out, unfortunately. It's almost turning into the Canada race. But without rain. So hopefully we'll see someone catching someone in the next few laps or so.
Yeah, it's definitely quietened down though now. You know, we don't really have a duel on the grid as such. We've got a few drivers catching. You know, Klont, as you said, is definitely... it definitely looks like he is catching Grimseth. But looking at who's catching who, Hardwick has a great lead. 12.3 seconds. He's looking really, really strong out front. In front of Ranieri. I'm still wondering what cost Walker the position, because he definitely lost a bit of time. It does look though that he is catching Melim ever so slightly. So, I think everyone's just kind of catching the car in front at the moment, because with this strategy element, it does change a lot of things up, and it does make the driver think a bit more.
Well, I'd say this is actually perhaps a trend. Almost, because the only race that Walker has not had a podium at so far is Hungary. And Hungary is a track infamous for its high tyre degradation rates. Here, we're seeing high tyre degradation rates, and so perhaps it's the simple fact that the CSG boys had better tyre wear than Walker. Hence why Walker had to pit earlier as well.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, you said that about Hungary. In Formula One, it actually holds the record for most amount of pit stops. I have, you know.
Does it really?
In 2011, don't get me wrong, that was a rainy race as well, so there was obviously a bit of change. But I think it was about 86 pit stops, something like that, which
Wow.
was only really a few above what they had in Spain. But back to this, I mean, if there was this high tire degradation there was in Hungary, and you know it's come across here, maybe Ryan Walker just struggles a bit with this with tyre conservation. Maybe he wants to push more and more. I'm not really sure. It could be down to setup, or it could even be just down to driver style. Still, 4th place is still a good place to pick up some points. You know, he's in the lead of the championship, and it seems like he just knows that consistency is everything.
Right, Lognovsky appears to have a bit of a problem. Or he has had a bit of a problem, because Grimseth is past him now. And so once again, this battle for 5th, 6th and 7th is going to heat up, hopefully. We know that Lognovsky is the faster driver, as we saw and heard earlier in the broadcast when he was trying everything to get past Grimseth. But yeah, Klont is keeping his distance, it appears. And hopefully Lognovsky, with his battling ability here, will be able to... And look at he's already on the back. So here we go, we've got a bit of dueling to be had. Dan Rusu, lap car getting out the way there. And hopefully Lognovsky, well, he's already right on the back of Sindre Grimseth. And oh, look at this, in the 3rd sector, the Estonian is on absolute fire. He's not exactly on podium pace, and he's already going to have a little look down into this turn, but no good defending from Grimseth. I imagine something's going to happen over the next course of a lap or so.
He is looking very, very racy behind Grimseth at the moment. I'm interested to see when he'll make that move. He does look a lot faster than Grimseth, especially in the 3rd sector. So I think the thing is with the 3rd sector is it's quite hard to pick an overtaking spot. I think the most overtaking spots are through Sector 1 and Sector 2. With Sector 1 being the most likely candidate. And with him being in the dirty air, but he's got the slipstream coming down the 2 straights. I think Lognovsky, he's in the position to really take that position from Grimseth.
Oh, Grimseth has gone wide there at turn 3. Lognovsky ran to the back of him, and this is of course where they were side by side about 10 laps before or so. Lognovsky has pulled into the slipstream, he pulls out to the left here and into turn 4 we go. He's going to stick up the inside, and look at them, this is exactly a replay of what was happening earlier, side by side through turn 5. They're still side by side, but Lognovsky will have the inside here of turn 6. And that is signed, sealed and delivered. Thank you very much. The Estonian is up into P5.
Klont looking quite racy also behind him. It seems like he's just waiting there to pounce, waiting for a mistake, waiting for them to duel, to slow down more. And he is looking very comfortable behind Lognovsky and Grimseth. I'm interested to see if Klont can try and take advantage of this situation. If Grimseth can keep close to Lognovsky and keep them 2 dueling, I think Klont will take advantage of every opportunity that arises.
I was thinking that Grimseth was actually catching onto the back of Lognovsky here, but it seems that Grimseth is really struggling. Like Gaxella almost in the Formula Challenge last time. Oh, look at this! It's an opportunistic move for Klont, trying to stick up the inside of there. Grimseth clearly struggling. He's still going to be side by side as we head into the penultimate turn, but Grimseth shut him out there. No, you're absolutely right, though. Menno Klont is looking to get past the struggling Sindre Grimseth here. He wants P5. And as we head on to lap 18 of 35 here, we're going to see whether he can do anything down in the next 2 slipstream heavy zones in the rundowns to turn 3 and 4. It appears that Grimseth seems to have the straight line speed on Klont, though. Klont not really making as much of an indent on that position as he would like as we go through turn 3. Lognovsky is definitely putting away, but Grimseth is locking up all over the place. I've really started to notice this, and perhaps he's much harder on his tyres than everyone else, but he's able to do, hold them behind just by pure defensive valour and things like that. Look, he's gone wide here again, and Klont is right up alongside him here as we head now into turn 5. But yeah, once again, look, more locking up, but Grimseth is able to hold the position somehow.
Yeah, he's only been on these tyres for about 6 laps, so he's clearly struggling with it, though. There's something not right. Maybe it's to do with setup, but one thing that I will point out is that some cars with their setup work better on one tyre, but then just don't quite switch on with the other. And, looking at this, I'm just wondering, if he switches over onto the hard tyre, will it all piece together? Is that what he's waiting for? It's just the car doesn't really seem to sit with Grimseth. It's looks like he's struggling with both understeer and oversteer sometimes at the same time, and with the locking, it just doesn't quite sit on the track. It's not hooked up.
Very much on an opposite strategy as Grimseth. I mean, I think he's trying to do what Bennett was doing, in that he ends up on the hard tyre at the end of the race to try and overtake some people. But I think he's got this completely the wrong way around. I think he's got completely the wrong strategy, because soft, hard, to me, doesn't seem like it will last the race. And here, Clont is much closer to Grimseth as we're on lap 19 as 35. Now, much closer, going to get much more of the effects of the slipstream here as we head down into turn 3. Once again, Lokdowski already a second and a half up the road as Clont here moves out to the outside, also to the inside even, and he's passed on the straight. He's probably going to hold his line through here, and indeed he does. Let's see whether Grimseth has any response to Clont. No, he had a little bit of a wiggle on the exit there of turn 3, and well, here we go. He's going to have a little go, isn't he? He's going to try and tuck into that slipstream, try and make something into trouble. He's going to try and go around the outside, he is, and well, that's good defence by Clont. It appears that Grimseth certainly has the better straight line speed. But when it comes to traction, which is what you really need here in sectors 2 and 3, that is going to be Clont's area. And I imagine we're going to see him pull away from Grimseth in these two sectors. So, actually, no, look at Grimseth's going on the inside. Whoa! You don't overtake there, but he's managed to do it. Force Clont wide, and he's back up into P6. But saying that, it's just gone wide again. And there we go. Clont's back through into P6. And, well, that was a frightening few corners, but, well, it was stubborn from Grimseth, to say the least.
Yeah, I don't think Clont was really defending that position. Not for the fact that he was, just not really looking. I don't know, but Clont, as I think many other driver would do, is just not expect an overtaking move through those corners. It was impressive, really, really impressive from Grimseth to have even attempted to drive, to even attempted an overtake there. Great little battle there over the last lap. So, I'm impressed with Grimseth to even have tried that move. That takes a lot of guts, because if one thing goes wrong, then it could be over for both drivers. Oh, that was a bit close from Pestov's there. Not really sure. That's a lapped car, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Dodgy, but, well, there we go. Clont has a bit of a job in his hands, though, now, because Loknowski is 3.2 seconds up the road. And so if he's going to hope to make any indents on what is P5, he's going to have to do something. And actually, we're looking at Grimseth here. His straight line speed is clearly better than Clont. Clearly. But it's almost like he's a worse off version than Gagzella. He just can't seem to hold it as better. I mean, look, he's already onto the back of Clont through Sector 1. The car certainly has something to it, but there's just not enough traction to make it stick throughout the entire lap.
Yeah, I'll tell you who is closing up. Which driver is closing up? John McLean, 9th place, catching up with Mark Wicks. He's been just catching like little bits every single lap. And I will state there is softs on hard. Softs is on John McLean, and Mark Wicks has the harder tyre. But John McLean looking pretty good behind Wicks there. He's just been closing up, like a few tenths here and a few tenths there, and now he is right pretty much on the rear wing now of Wicks. He looks very good down the two or three straights earlier on in the lap.
I forget, did McLean start on hards, or was he on softs?
I believe softs. I didn't check that out. I will have a look at... He pitted on lap 12. I'm not really sure which one, but I think it was softs.
Right, well, either way, you're absolutely right. The soft tyre certainly to his advantage here. Wixie, he's an experienced old soul, he is, but he's going to have to put every bit of experience to good use here around Korea's. McLean actually goes wide. But yeah, I'm very impressed with McLean this race. Especially to come back from the disappointment of just yesterday. Up into the top 10 of, a higher tier of single-seater racing. It's really good. Oh, is that someone? I saw something happening up there.
Yeah, Russia hasn't got a front left.
No, what I saw was Grimseth is back past Clont. That's what I saw. And look at it. Oh my goodness me, Clont's back through on turn 3 there. But Grimseth's putting up a bit of a challenge here. I wonder if he was saving the tyres. It certainly didn't look like it. But look, the straight line speed, he is back through into P6 once again as we head into turn 4.
If that is like tyre conservation, very impressive stuff there to have kept you cool and to have known that it was going to happen, that you were going to have the right line. But Grimseth, either way, even if that isn't tyre conservation, impressive stuff. They are both on the soft tyres, but impressive stuff to have, just kept close enough. I mean, we both said that Clont was going to take it away and just, gradually get away from Grimseth. That's not the case. He's done very well.
Anything, he's struggling even more than Grimseth. We'll have to see through this third sector. That is where Clont has really shined so far during this race. And, well, actually, no, to be fair, Grimseth is holding his own through this Sector 3. Let's not say things too soon, no, James? No. I would say Grimseth is most definitely holding his own. If he's got the straight line speed still and has good exits for what will be lap 22 or 35 here, I think Clont's starting to struggle and Grimseth might pull away with this here.
I do agree. Grimseth looks like he's just getting better and better and more confident every time he goes through Sector 3. The car looks stronger and stronger. I mean, to say that only a few laps ago, it didn't look right. And now he does get a bit of a slide coming out of turn 1 there, which means that Clont is going to have a pretty good drive coming down the straight. So, but it doesn't look like he's gaining that much. Although, there you go, he is slightly.
It's downforce v speed, and Clont's going to try and stick it up the inside. He's right alongside the Norwegian, and he's going to stick out. He's going to do the same move that he did last lap around. But the thing is, does Grimseth have the straight line? Does he have the natural straight line speed to get back into the slipstream and look to the inside of turn 4? He's certainly keeping with Clont. He's going to stick his nose out, but nothing doing this time around. And I believe that, oh my goodness me, yeah, he almost runs into the back of Clont there, but I reckon Clont's probably going to hold it for this lap now. But don't count Grimseth out. He's shown multiple times now that in that first sector, he can just fly past you at, on a whim, it seems.
I'd say he's running a lower downforce setup. I mean, you look at how Clont caught up with Grimseth going through the straight coming out of turn 2. It just, even with a slight slide there from Grimseth, he wasn't catching, and yet down the slower, the shorter straight even, between turns 3 and 4, Grimseth closed up amazingly quickly. So I'm going to say that Grimseth is on a lower downforce setup, or just had better traction. I mean, I don't know, but I'd say lower downforce setup for Grimseth.
Right, here we go. Yeah, sorry to cut you off there. Rainieri has been back into the pits, presumably onto hard tyres, yes?
Yes, hard tyres.
This is probably going to be to the end of the race for Rainieri. He comes out in P4, so pretty good there. We can see their Clont, and actually, as we say, Grimseth has hitted, along with Loknovsky. And so lots going on now. A couple of pitters, obviously Oscar Hardwick and Malim have gone through, Walker's gone through again. And well, Rainieri's come back out into 4th, so it looks like a podium probably assured for him, I'd say. But clearly he's going to go to the end of the race on this setup now. Because, oh no, what's happened to Grimseth? He's really losing it. Actually, no, Loknovsky, to be fair, was well ahead. And he's come back out into 7th. Grimseth has come back into 8th. But yeah, how long can Rainieri last on these hard tyres? That's the question. The first of our pitters to probably make his last stop here.
Definitely, that's going to be the last stop. When you think of it, there's only about 13 laps left. Fuel's going to be down a bit. They're all going to be a bit more confident with the track. I don't know what the temperature is on the track at the moment, but I'm not sure if the temperature's gone down at all. But if it has, then tyre degradation may not be so high. Definitely though. So it's 20, 25. So it's gone down quite a bit. Rainieri though, definitely his last stop. I think everyone's going to be making their last stop pretty much now. I'm surprised Hardwick hasn't come in yet.
Well, Hardwick was one of the last ones to stop, wasn't he? It seems to make it work. The CSG boys seem to have their tyre conservation pretty good here. Ryan Walker going through as well. And there we go. Got our, gosh, what retirement is that? That's our 4th retirement of the race. Dan Brusu has retired. And so given that everyone actually finishes 75% of this race, everyone left will score a point. So that's lovely for everyone to be in the knowledge that they'll score a point as long as they get that far. Let's have a little look. Menno Clont goes round again. And actually, I've been looking at Loknovsky in the background, and he's having a bit of trouble here. He's coming into P7, but he's come out right behind Mark Wicks on an alternate strategy, and he's not been able to get past him yet, so that he may very well lose time to both Clont, well, not necessarily Grimseth, but definitely Clont here. Because Klont is in clean air. The only man ahead of him is Ranieri.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to say Loknoffs is going to struggle here. I mean, considering Wicks pitted, where did he pit last? Wicks pitted last on lap 11, so he pitted quite a while ago, about 12 laps ago. I don't think he's going to have the traction. Hopefully, I think Loknoffs is going to be looking to get past Wicks pretty early, but I don't think Wicks will give up that position easily. So, interesting to see what's going to be happening here. Wicks doing pretty well though. He's up in 6th place. He started in 7th, so you know he's been. Looks like, to be honest, he's been pretty balanced out. You know, 7th, 8th, 9th. You know, he's been around this area for the entirety of the race, and I think he's going to defend pretty hard from Loknoffsky.
Right, Morten Bernhardsen has been into the pits. He's come out in P11. Scott Bennett then has been let back into the top 10. Although we reckon that he's going to pit again somehow, or he's going to pit again sometime soon. He's actually not that far behind John McLean, it must be said. He's had a bit of a thing going for magically rising up the order, as Scott Bennett, and he finds himself in the top 10 now. Pedro Malim has gone round again. Walker has gone round again. Of course, Rainier has already pit. He's our lead pitter at the moment. And he's 39 seconds behind the leader. So I doubt that he's going to be coming out ahead of Hardwick unless Hardwick makes a mistake. But he's certainly keeping himself in contention for that 2nd place, which would be second consecutive 2nd place in this race. Klont is going round again, still yet to pit. And the next ones to be going round will be Wicks and Loknoffsky. Loknoffsky a pitter already. What will Wicks do though? He's on an alternate strategy, but he is pitting. Right, so Loknoffsky is set loose, and he is currently, well, at time of asking, he's 22 seconds behind Klont. So the gap of 3 seconds that was there throughout the pit will definitely have evaporated now, and Wicks is going to be falling down the order. And where is John McLean on track? John McLean is almost into the final corner with Scott Bennett. Mark Wicks is in the pit now. This is going to be close. This is going to be close to P8 and P9. John McLean, actually no, but John McLean is yet to pit, has he? So, yeah, Mark Wicks comes back into P8 anyway, and John McLean and Scott Bennett will then come round the top 10. But actually, looking at it, Scott Bennett is definitely catching on John McLean at the moment. So I'm sorry. Oh no, sorry. Oscar Hardwick's in. Sorry to quickly cut across you there. Hardwick is into the pit.
Softs.
And he's on to softs. That was kind of expected. But how many laps have we got here? We're on lap 26. So we've got 9 laps left. So I think that's actually well judged from Hardwick. And Malim's in as well. What about Walker? Walker goes round again. Now that's interesting. I thought Walker was going to pit around the same time as well, but he doesn't. He's going to be through into P2 now. Hardwick, well, he's still about 15 seconds up the road. But oh, there we go. Giuseppe Rainieri, that was one we were looking out for. He is through on Malim once again, so he is definitely guaranteed second, it looks like. The one to watch out for, though, is how far can Walker get on these tyres, and what dent can he make into that gap that Malim had over him. I'm sure he'd love to keep his podium consistency going. Yeah,
what I was going to say, though, before that all happened, McLean did pit. It was completely unsighted. Completely unsighted. So to say that he's up into 9th place, and it does look like he's done his last pit stop. He did it on lap 21. So if he can do, he's on the hard tyre. If he can do 14 laps now, which I think at this point in the race should be okay. You know, he should be able to do it. But McLean surprisingly looks very, very strong at the moment. You know, to say that he's been from 22nd and has moved up gradually but consistently, it's a very impressive drive from McLean here.
Loknoffsky has gone past Klont. Klont has pitted, but the gap definitely closer than it was when they both pitted. The gap about a second now between the two. Loknoffsky, crucially, has gotten out ahead of Klont, but Klont has actually gotten ahead of Grimseth, and that was the guy he was battling with for most of that time before, so that's an important overtake for Klont, and actually Grimseth being held up by Koivunen there, goodness me. Held up quite a lot there. Where is Ryan Walker then? Ah, here we go. I thought this was going to happen. Ryan Walker pits then from second position. Rainieri is going to come round and he's going to retake second position. Where is Malim? Malim is just come around the penultimate corner. And has Walker... I'm thinking, has Walker pitted? Or is he just coming in now? He's just coming in now. And you know what? Oh, oh god, that was a quick stop actually there. But you
Very.
know what? He is he's lost more time, hasn't he? He's lost more time to Malim.
Yeah, I'd state it. Yeah, it does look like he has something. I don't know whether it was strategy-wise. Something doesn't seem to have gone quite as well as it should have done for Walker. But you know, he's out on the softs now. It's pretty much expected strategy. I thought he would come out on the softs. It does look like the top four. Other than Rainy Airy is the only one who's on the hard tyre out of the top load. So, you know, interesting stuff there. Actually, no, Lognovsky in 5th. He's on the hards as well. But Walker, I don't know what has happened strategy-wise, but something just hasn't clicked. I mean, don't get me wrong, 5th to 4th, you know, it's still a gain in position, and it's still consistent points. It's still pretty high in the points. But I don't know. I just think that there's something that's not quite clicked right here.
It's weird as well, because on each of his stints, he was catching Malim. On each of his stints, he definitely gained time on the Portuguese drive, and yet somehow, along the line, he's lost time.
It's not through the pit stop, because the pit stop was fast. That pit stop for Walker was a fast stop. But he's just... I don't know where it is. There's just somewhere that he's losing time on that in-lap.
Another person who's gaining time though is Oscar Hardwick. When we started the pit stop phase, Ranieri was 12 seconds behind him. The gap is now 18 seconds, and we're on lap 28 of 35 here. Only 7 laps left. So this one seems in the bag for Hardwick. It seems he's going to claim not just the first even race win for CSG here, but he's going to crucially have a big, you know, like I think, what was it? It's a 13-point dent into Walker's lead, and also it's going to be his 2nd consecutive race win and his 3rd win overall.
It's a 12-point stim. Is it?
There we go.
But I've got the points up because I wasn't too sure.
You're on.
But
good man.
yeah, it is a good, like, that's not like a small amount to knock. I mean, that's going to knock it down quite a way. It's going to be 21 points. I think it's 33 points is the gap, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah, it's going to be 21 points between them. You know, he's just closing it in. I think Oscar Hardwick has to take basically a page from Ryan Walker's book here. Is just consistency. I mean, yes, you can take the wins, but it's just being consistent to consistently score, and that's what's given Walker the championship lead at the moment. And if Hardwick plays this right, it will give Hardwick the championship by the end of it. I mean, we don't know what other factors can come in here. You know, so many different things can affect a championship, and this is where it's... I mean, we're about approaching that. We're at the middle of this championship, and so this is where it's all pretty interesting, and you'll see quite a lot of changes. You know, who's challenging for the title, who's challenging for some various point positions down below, and this is where it will be all change. I think this is where things could get really, really interesting, as this middle part of the championship.
It will. I am looking forward to it. I really am. Of course, going to be literally halfway there at Istanbul in 2 weeks' time, and Hardwick will have just above a 2nd place if Ryan Walker non-scores to make up, you know, the difference. And clearly, it is all going to be down to Walker. I imagine that the race will be close, maybe 60% through the championship. But the key thing for me is when, or even if, there is a chance Ryan Walker could score wins. Because that's the one thing that he has been lacking this season, which kind of puts doubts in your mind. Because you think about it, there's a 5-point gap between 1st and 2nd. And that only gets bigger the more positions you are down the field. And unless he starts to get those wins, then I think he is going to be seriously struggling, because it seems that Hardwick is filling the position that James Shepherd left when he left the series to move up to Super League, and he's taking those wins. You know, he is taking the high positions, and let's remember that although he's had 1 retirement at Monaco, got pole position on that day, and he probably would have had a high point scoring position there as well.
Yeah, I mean, taking the win is very, very important, and I think Ryan Walker should be extremely conscious of that. I think Ryan Walker has to step up his game a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, consistency, as we've already said, consistency is key, but, you know, with this consistency, you should be unlocking a win here. There should be somewhere throughout that there is a win for Ryan Walker. I'm surprised he hasn't had it already. Maybe the opportunity's not quite arisen. But, I mean, seriously, if he wants to take this championship, and I'm sure he does, he's in the lead of it, he's got to know that this championship is in sight. We're not quite there yet. There's no light at the end of the tunnel just yet, but he's closing in on it. He now has to really step it up and take some wins. That is pretty much 100% needed for him to take the championship, unless something serious happens to Hardwick, which at the current speed that Hardwick's going, I don't think it will happen. Ryan Walker, though, just needs to step it up a little bit.
I am worried. That's the thing. I mean, you say, when the opportunity arises. I mean, you look back to Monaco where there are only 9 finishers. I believe Walker came second in that race to Loknovsky, And that would have been a prime opportunity. I mean, Monaco's usually a place where you think, if I'm going to make a point score, or if I'm going to get a win, or if I'm going to do something, it's got to be there because I can keep it consistent on track. And, even there he wasn't able to take the win. So I think we'll have to see, where, if we get him in the interview, we'll have to ask whether he does think he'll be able to get a win this season, or whether there's any tracks that we should look out for him on. And in response, whether Hardwick is good on those tracks as well, because ultimately, as you say, he does look like the faster driver here. At the moment, we're on lap 31 of 35 here, only 4 more laps to go, and the field very much spread out at the moment. We'll quickly go down your top 10 as they are, as Hardwick first, Rainieri second, Malimin third, Walker fourth, Loknovsky is in 5th with Menno Klont 6th, Sindre Grimseth 7th, Mark Wicks is in 8th, John McLean is in 9th, and Morten Verneson rounds out your top 10, and all other people are scoring. They're still going, so we've got Scott Bennett there in 11th, Dimitri Demilmeister in 12th, Martin Bolgin in 13th, and Andrzej Pestovs in 14th, and Tommy Koivunen is our last points runner in 15th. And so, as I say, there's not really many battles, if any, that I can see out on track and 40. It's very much calmed down since those early laps. And actually, the gap between first and second now is exactly 20 seconds. So clearly, Hardwick is taking this one to the extreme. He's not taking any chances on this. He's going to keep on extending that gap until the very end. But it seems that everyone's, barring someone spinning, everyone's going to finish in the positions that they are, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, the most recent person who I've seen spin was Koivunen, and he's in 15th place, so I don't think there'll be any positions lost there. But, speaking of duels, there isn't any, considering where we started, where there was, pretty good duels side-by-side action throughout the first lap, and then, the laps that followed. It's really, really spread apart, and I think Hardwick's really shown his dominance. I mean, last time out in Canada, I think there was, the top 3, or I think it was the top 3, were the only 3 that weren't lapped.
Yeah.
So Oscar Hardwick's just showing this level of dominance. That sometimes, I mean, you think like across other leagues, Gagzella in the Formula Challenge, he shows it. So, just this utter domination, this need to not just win, but just completely smash the rest of the field. And that's kind of where Hardwick's at the moment. I mean, if you look at the last race and here, he's just at that point where just a win isn't enough. It needs to be like this Sebastian Vettel style huge lead and, scoring like the fastest lap of the race and all that. That's kind of like what it looks like from this point.
Oh, hello.
Hardwick needs it.
Sorry, we do have a battle. Loknovsky has spun in P5 and Klont is right on the back of him now, and P5, which wasn't in sight from the pit stop, is now most definitely in sight. We saw Loknovsky very much fly off into the distance, once again following the pit stop, but here we go, Klont is right on the back, and well, we've got a bit of excitement on our hands. But actually, to be fair to the entire field with Canada, it was wet conditions. There were, really, to be honest, a couple of debatable incidents, and clearly the quality of the field showed through there. But I must say, you should have been happy that you weren't at that race, because it was pretty much what this race was just now before Loknovsky spun, but for about 75% of it. So, you know, that certainly wasn't a race to remember. But here, at least we've got a little bit of last lap actions, or last laps action here, with Klont right on the back of Loknovsky, though not seeming to make as much of an impact as he was earlier in the race, at least.
Yeah, I wonder if Klont can close that. Klont can close the gap there, because, I mean, this is it really for action that I think we're going to see. I don't think anyone else is really. Hope no one else spins. I mean, Loknovsky. I wonder what was going through Klont's mind when he saw Loknovsky, just seeing this gap just disappear, and then knowing that Loknovsky is spun. Maybe he's thinking that Loknovsky has got problems. Maybe he has. We don't really know. But Klont is in a great place to take P5 at the moment, and he needs to grab that with both hands. It doesn't look like he is at the moment. It does look like Loknovsky's just kind of pulling out just a little bit. I mean, I'm interested to see what Klont does through this sector, the high speed sector, to see if he is on a low or high downforce setup. But Loknovsky just seems to be pulling away a little bit.
We certainly saw Klont losing out to Grimseth multiple times through this sector as we're on lap 33 of 35 here, not long to go. But Klont certainly has a good exit there from turn 2. And indeed, he's going to be right tucked up in the slipstream of Pavel Loknovsky, the Estonian, here down into the entrance to turn 3. He's going to pull out. He's going to pull out to the right. And he's passed on the straight, and well, there we go. I thought he wasn't making much of an impact. He is through, although Loknovsky is going to try and get the cut back. And I wonder, Klont's probably going to go ultra defensive here into turn 4. The question is, can Loknovsky make a stick around the outside? The two head there now. And, well, Klont has hold it just about. Loknovsky's going to look to the inside here. But no, he's definitely behind now. He's going to have a bit of trouble trying to get past Klont. He's into the top 5 now. This is what he's aiming for most of the race. He's only got 2.5 laps to do it.
Good drive, though, from Klont to have, to have taken that position. It was a nice, clean overtake. That's what you want. Loknovsky didn't quite let it go. He was always kind of there. He's still just sitting there, and I think Loknovsky was actually a little bit faster through Sector 3 than Klont was. I will state, looking in the background, Grimseth's just sort of sitting there. I don't think he's closing the gap at all, but, if mistakes are made, then I think Grimseth is in the perfect opportunity to take the positions, but Loknovsky kind of left the door a little bit too open there for Klont.
Yeah, not much defensive work going on from the Estonian. The leaders are on lap 34 of 35, the penultimate lap. That is what these two will be going on to just about now. They're 1 minute and 8 seconds behind the lead, making that 1 minute 9 seconds behind the leader now.
Oh, Wicks is out, I think.
Oh gosh, he is. Oh no, and Wixie is gone. He's gone. He's had an accident. He's still going to score points because he's in the top 15 and he's completed more than 75% of the race. But, well, drama llama for Wicks there. And Scott Bennett's up into the top 10 once again. Unbelievable stuff. He just seems to put it in all the right places, does Scott Bennett. And he's got himself a top 10 position. Right, here we go. P5 then. Pavel Loknovsky is back past Menno Klont here. And, well, I was kind of expecting it because it seems whoever's going to have whoever's going to have the slipstream full stop will be able to get past. But Klont doesn't seem to be able to be patient enough. He wants to get past straight away, and already he's onto the side of Loknovsky and Klont. The leader, Oscar Hardwick, is on the lead lap, so we're keeping this as long as we can. But obviously then we're going to be going to Oscar Hardwick to watch him cross the line. I will think that Klont is going to try and stay behind Loknovsky and try and get him into turn 3. But look at Grimseth there. He's definitely starting to catch on these two. Only 1.2 seconds behind now.
Grimseth definitely closing up. But I would say that Klont at the moment is in the better position to take P5 because he's going to have the slipstream coming down the two straights. Klont is in the better position at the moment. Can Loknovsky defend? Because, I mean, they've only got these last few corners and then one more lap, and that is it. I'm wondering if Loknovsky can defend. I mean, he didn't show too much defensive work from Klont a couple of laps ago. He needs to do it now. If he wants P5, he has to defend for everything from Klont.
Well, it's going to be close because I can see Oscar Hardwick is now nearing the third sector as it is here, but Klont goes into turn 1 here. still very nice and tucked up behind Pavel Loknovsky here. Can he do anything down into turn 3? I don't think he is, actually. He's not really closing up as much as I thought he would do. He's going to look out to the inside now. And yes, he is through, sorry, at turn 3. And as they go through turn 3 here, Oscar Hardwick's going to enter the final corner here. And it's Oscar Hardwick who takes the win for CSG. Dominant performance here from Hardwick as we now head back to the battle between Loknovsky and Klont. Loknovsky being able to get past here on the straight here. Klont's looking to the outside. Look at Grimseth here. Still, actually, he's going to get a little bit involved as Klont goes to the outside of turn 5. He's not going to be able to get the inside here, or is he going to stick up the inside for turn 6? Nothing doing there, and oh, look at Grimseth! Grimseth is throwing the inside of Klont, and if he's not careful, he could lose the position here as well. Heading into turn 7, Loknovsky starting to goes off, and what about Grimseth? Is he going to go try the outside? No, he's not. And well, it appears that Loknovsky's saviour here might be fellow Scandinavian. Oh, I don't think he's Scandinavian, sorry, but he is a Scandinavian nonetheless. Sindre Grimseth here, and oh dear, what happened to? Oh, Sindre Grimseth went off there.
Yeah, he's got a little bit out.
Yeah, but I think that battle between Klont and Grimseth there might just have saved Loknovsky.
Definitely, Klont looks very, very strong behind Loknovsky, especially through that last sector. I'm surprised Klont didn't take it, but Loknovsky defended pretty well. Klont goes a little bit wide in the entrance to the third sector, but I think Loknovsky has got this now.
Yeah, just to say, Giuseppe Ranieri did take P2, Pedro Milin P3, Ryan Walker outside the podium position, his first time since Hungary here. Pavel Loknovsky will take P5 for Innovision, with Menno Klont 6 for Malta 4. Sindre Grimseth takes P7 for Target Racing. John McLean, excellent drive for Fox Racing, a top 10 for the team in the bottom half of the table, and from P22 no less. Brilliant drive from the Scotsman there. Morten Vernonson for Vodbull comes home P9. Scott Bennett, he made this strategy work, comes home in P10. Dimitri Demulmeister P11 for Fox Racing, so good evening overall for them there. Martin Bolgin, P12 for Scuderia Basilia, P13 for Andreas Pestos, PPD, Tommy Koivunen, 14 for Centurion Racing, and Mark Wicks, despite having the accident, he will be classified as 15th, and he will take home that final point of the evening. We're just hearing a little something through from the cameraman. Apparently, Ryan Walker...
He pitted on the last... He pitted on the second to last lap.
Hey, there we go. So Ryan Walker pitted on the second to last lap and still came home 4th. But I guess, you know, yeah, if you've got scruffy tyres and you know your competitors are so far behind you, why not? You know, if you've got that cushion.
Interesting stuff, though, to have pitted on the last lap. Maybe he was just sort of struggling with tyres and thought, well, you know, the gap to the car behind is quite large. Yeah, why not? Exactly. Why not take it the safe way? Exactly.
There's no point in risking your car in the final laps. Possibly what Wixie do. I mean, we knew that Wixie was on a different strategy. And I do wonder whether it was through disconnection or genuine fault that he went off track. Because I didn't see the wreckage of his car there. It seemed like he went straight on from what was turn 10, possibly. So possibly an unlucky disconnection for the Englishman, which is a shame. He was in the top 10, but such is the way of racing. Almost the sim racing equivalent of technical issues is a disconnection, and Mark there, very unlucky to suffer from. Hopefully we shall have, I think we should have all 3 podium sitters actually here in the room. Indeed we do. We've got Oscar Hardwick here waiting for interview. There comes Ryan Walker, and I know that Pedro has recently been coming into TeamSpeak as well. So, rightio, here we go. So, we shall start here with Oscar Hardwick, 2nd consecutive race win. CSG's first race win on an even-numbered event. 4th pole position as well. And you've eaten into Ryan Walker's lead by 12 points. Overall, a pretty dominant evening for you.
Yeah, that's pretty much as well as it could have gone. I mean, the red flag didn't help because it meant I had a very dodgy start the second time, so I'd been, you could say, a bit shaken by it. My frame of mind was wrong, so my start was rubbish, which meant that Ranieri got ahead. Fortunately, I did actually have some outright pace on Ranieri, particularly towards the end of the stint. It looked like he was absolutely chewing those tyres to bits, so that, his spin, the fact that he had to use primes twice, all absolutely fell into my hands, so fantastic win for me, but more importantly, the 3rd from Pedro on his debut here, filling in for Roy, means that CSG get an absolutely massive points haul.
Absolutely, and pulling away from Target, who only had one finisher. And actually, let's go to Pedro. Your start was unbelievable, good sir. And as Oscar rightly says, third on debut. I mean, I know this isn't your primary seat. We know that you are down in Formula Challenge with Simic at the moment, but surely this podium on debut will give you confidence that you will be able to succeed in Super Cup when, and I do say when because I'm sure you will, move up into it.
Yeah, it was quite good. I was expecting good pace, but to be third, it was quite massive. It was really good, and with Oscar finishing first, it meant good points for the team, and I'm very, very happy with that.
And of course, then we can go. This all sort of links into Ryan Walker. Of course, you still got your lead there at the top. It's been slashed to 21 points now, so one non-score and one win from Oscar means that you lose the championship lead. We were wondering to ask you, of course, you haven't had a race win this season, and that's pure. Well, the reason that you are here in such a good position is through your consistency. Of course, you're fourth here, only your second time outside the podium places. But looking at the 9 races which you've got coming up now, do you think that you'll be able to get a win this season?
I'm hoping, but it'll be tough with people like Oscar around as well, because Oscar's a really quick guy, and trying to keep up with him and stay ahead in the championship ahead of him will be a hard job, but we'll just see how it goes.
Of course, got Istanbul next time. Is that a particularly strong track for you? Do you feel like you can make a better impact on the race there than here?
Istanbul's a track I like. I'm not super quick around there, but again, see how it goes.
Alright, well done, gentlemen, on all of your great point-scoring positions. I'm not sure what's going to be happening in 2 weeks' time, to be honest, Lewis. You might have Nick Rowland, you might have Philip Cullen, you might have me, you might have Lewis again. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll leave it as a little bit of a surprise, but I know that you especially came in on quite short notice, so thank you very much for joining me again.
Yeah, no problem. It's been enjoyable. I don't think the racing was quite as close as it was yesterday, but still some interest in the strategy, interesting how it all played out, and I'm quite excited to see how the championship will go from here. Can Ryan Walker keep that lead?
It's the almighty question, isn't it? We'll just have to wait and see as the season progresses. Remember, if you want more racing action, tomorrow, Thursday night, same time, you've got the big event, Super League, to come up with Dave Carr-Smith and Lucas Euler starring there for their battle for the championship. Hopefully we'll have Simon Smith and Tom Parker, I think, commentating on that. So join them then. Join whoever's commentating on Super Cup in 2 weeks' time at Istanbul as well. And whoever's there, we'll see you then. Goodbye for now.